getting. Russell Westbrook was the worst move LeBron ever made. It was even worse than when he let Alex Caruso go, which is why Caruso joined the Chicago Bulls. I'm just joking, is really because they chose to get Russ instead. And they told Russ, hey, you don't even have to change how you play. They said, we need Russ to be Russ. We don't need Russ to change for anyone. That's why we got him. But was that true? Of course not. They asked him to play without the ball and play defense. Everyone in the whole world knew that wasn't going to happen, but they were surprised when it didn't work. So why haven't they just traded him away? The Lakers have what they need to replace Russ with better players. They have first-round draft picks from 2027 and 2029, which are really valuable. With those picks, they could get any one of these players that teams have agreed to trade. Mike Conley, Bojan Bogdanovic, Jordan Clarkson, Buddy Hield, Miles Turner, and Terry Rozier. All of those trades were actually possible, but there's one big reason the Lakers said no. And there's also one thing that could happen that would actually make them trade Russ Dutt. It all starts with a big news story last week. The Athletic newspaper says the Lakers are really thinking about making Westbrook come off the bench instead of starting. He would be so much better coming off the bench because he would get to control his own group of players. We all know Russ needs the ball in his hands to do what he does best. He gets in the way of what Anthony Davis and LeBron are trying to do. But does Russ want this? I think Russ would rather stop playing basketball completely. We know that he ruined a close friendship over this. Russ fired his agent after 14 years because the agent wouldn't demand a trade for him. But the agent said, look, Russ, your best years are over. The agent told ESPN, I think his best choice is to stay with the Lakers. Unfortunately, we can't agree anymore, and we're not working together. Frank Vogel got fired because of how he dealt with Russ. It was obvious last year that Russ should sit on the bench, but Vogel wouldn't do it because he didn't want to lose Russ. In other words, he was scared of Russ. And to be honest, who wouldn't be scared? Is this a real question? It's a real question. Next question. Next question. That's why they hired Darvin Ham. He told the Lakers, I have the voice and the strength to deal with Russell Westbrook. He's this big, tough guy who's not going to be afraid to bench Russ if he needs to. And now he has the support of both LeBron James and the team's bosses. If Russ doesn't like it and wants to go home, that's fine. They could either fine him for that or just decide this is what's best for the team. But what Ham is saying for now is that Russ has to compete for the starting spot with Patrick Beverley and Dennis Schroeder. LeBron and Anthony Davis are the only players guaranteed to start. Everyone else has to earn it. This is actually kind of insulting for a Hall of Fame point guard. Russell already thinks this is rude. Do you remember what Ham said at his news conference and how Russ reacted? Has there been any talk among you guys about maybe changing his role? Maybe having him come off the bench? Yeah, I would say yes. Russ and I have had some really, really great one-on-one talks, man. And the biggest word, I think, is sacrifice. That was the biggest word, sacrifice. We're going to sacrifice whatever we have to do. Look at Russ. They're trying to hide his smile when Ham is talking about sacrifice. There's going to be so much drama. So why don't they just trade him to get rid of the drama? Well, for two big reasons. The first one is salary cap space. If the Lakers make a deal with, say, Indiana, they'll have Buddy Hield's $19 million contract on their books next year. If they make a deal with Utah, they'll have Mike Conley's partially guaranteed $15 million contract. But if they keep Russ and wait it out, they'll have about $35 million next summer. That will let them sign a huge free agent. The best free agents next year include Kyrie Irving, Chris Middleton, Fred the Bomberito, Andrew Wiggins, Tyler Hero, and Jordan Poole, who are both restricted free agents. They won't have enough money for any of those guys or a group of really good role players. If they trade for Buddy Hield or Mike Conley, reason number 2 to not trade Russ is draft picks. Who cares about some random first-round pick 5 years from now? The Lakers could be planning to use these picks with their salary cap space in the offseason to get a superstar. Every offseason, there is some star who wants out, and the only way to get him is through a trade. LA would be able to offer the 2027 and 2029 first-round picks plus a huge trade exception for someone like Damian Lillard. And if you think, oh, just 2 Lakers picks isn't good enough. Oh no! An anonymous front office person just said the 2 Lakers picks are the most powerful things as far as picks go in the league right now. Dang. Why is that? Because everyone expects those to be top picks. The Lakers are not a well-run team. Once LeBron leaves, they will be a disaster again. In fact, a report says the Jazz were actually thinking about trading Russ and the 2 picks for Donovan Mitchell. Of course, there were better offers out there for Spider, but Danny Ainge knew he could always go back to them. So those picks are really like gold next offseason, but LeBron will be 39 next year. You can't just waste this whole next year of his career hoping to get someone like Dame next offseason. But there is a solution to all of this. Did you see Russ in that viral video of him fixing his shooting? He could bring back his career. I'm just kidding. That's not going to happen. The actual key to winning this season is Anthony Davis. Last year, he shot 19% from three-point range, by far his worst season ever. Oh, not to mention he only played in 40 games. How do we have a unicorn, potentially top 5 player in the league in his prime, and not put all the pressure on that guy? He could be MVP of the league. Think about that. The fact that LA has a potential MVP right now and we don't talk about it is crazy. But there is one way that a Russ trade still happens. The benching thing is real. He will come into training camp, and if Pat Bev can do the little things better, like play defense and play without the ball, which we know he can, then Bev will be the starter. The Lakers are tired of all the Russ lowlights from last year. It was embarrassing. But the big difference this year is Russ is on an expiring contract, which means even if he throws a giant fit about the benching, he's out next summer anyway. They don't have to deal with him. The expiring contract gives the Lakers and Darvin Ham power to make a tough decision. That's why I think it could actually happen. So next summer, Russ is going to be a free agent no matter what. It's time to start asking, is this the end of Russ's career? Dude doesn't want to come off the bench? Get used to it. What team is going to want him running their offense? The best you can hope for with a Russ-led team is maybe a 6 seed and losing in the first round of playoffs. The only way for him to prove otherwise is to get traded and show he can still do great things. We know he wants to trade out of LA, so if things did get really heated with a toxic locker room, they would be forced to trade Russ this year. And if you are a Lakers fan who really wants them to deal Russ, you should root for that chaos. The only way that this happens is if Russ forces them to deal him with his bully attitude. My favorite videos to make are the story behind the story. Like we hear this thing about Russ possibly being benched, and then we get to kind of unpack what's really happening behind the scenes. But my favorite one of those videos recently is how the Nets lied to Kevin Durant and fooled the entire world. Check it out.